right, I reckon we should start. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We are incredibly excited about this. Thanks so much for jumping on board. Today, we've got a lot of great things going on. We're going to have a lot of great things that we're going to be talking about. Today's theme is all about creating a successful training program and also creating a culture of movement and so forth. And today's guest, I'm really honored to have Henrik Swärdh with us, all the way from Sweden, PGA Professional, and we're going to tell his story in just a few minutes. Digital meetings, webinars is something that is very common today. So I do doubt that we have people here that haven't joined, but if you're a little bit new to it, feel free to give feedback in our chat in the Q&A. You guys can see and hear us, but we won't be able to do it from your end. So feel free to use that. We're going to be having a little bit of a Q&A session at the end. If you're using social media, feel free to share your stories, share this presentation and so forth as well. Do you have our social accounts? Now, we have the honor of working with professionals all around the world, and this is really no exception. Henrik, we've had the opportunity now to work with for the past almost a year now, and we're incredibly excited to do those webinar together with him. Now, Henrik, you're most likely going to be able to tell your own story in a great way. So if you can, about a minute, just tell the audience a little bit about who you are, your story, and a little bit about your coaching background.
Hey everyone, first and foremost, I would like to thank Chris for inviting me to do these webinars. Yet again, we had a blast doing the last one, and hopefully this time we'll do an even better one. So my name is Henrik Swärdh. I am 37 years old and I work as a teaching professional in Carlskrona in the south of Sweden. I tried my luck as a playing professional. I should say luck because it had nothing to do with skill. I know now, from what I know now, I know that I was so far from ever being able to make a living out of that. But instead, that made me pursue a career in teaching instead. The environment here at Carlskrona is very much, everything evolves around education. And I started out in the Swedish PGA training program in 2011, but even before that, I took my TPI level 1 certification, because that athletic part of the game has always been very present for me. I mean, I took way better care of that part than the hitting a golf ball part when I played as a professional, which then, as you all know, it's not very smart if you want to make a living out of hitting a golf ball. So that made me start off with that kind of basic foundation in my teaching. I had my TPI certification. I graduated from the training program in 2014, and pretty much right away after that, I started working as a teacher or a coach within the training program. So I've had different subjects over the years, but all in all, I would say that the screening and physical limitations part has always been the one that I've been doing that with every single class over the last 6-7 years, talking about physical limitations, talking about restrictions, and how to teach with it or around it. I've also been having the opportunity to work with the classes in training, periodization, planning type of subject, which is by all means, how do you structure a year's worth of teaching, or a month or a week, and is that important? I mean, we always end up talking elite golfers, but I mean, that is just as important to have a structure in the planning over a year with your members or your junior program or whatever it might be. And I've also done with my good old friend Niklas Eriksson, we've done a lot of golf technique things as well with the training program. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been a member of the coaching staff within the Swedish national team, the Swedish golf team, and I am regionally responsible for the Super Camp project, which is where the first instep into the Swedish golf team for our 13, 14, 15-year-olds. So that's me.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And I'm going to do my best in trying to run up after you here, but a little bit about myself. My name's Chris Manson. I spent most of my career as a licensed personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach. My former background is as a tennis player, played golf my whole life, and I was fortunate enough to work with lots of great teaching and coaching professionals, and ended up working with a lot of golfers, all types of levels, and had a particular interest in biomechanics and how the body moves and how it moves in three planes of motion, and got really interested about how we can, help golfers on a larger scale. Working again with a lot of professionals, I saw that there was an opportunity in many different ways where we can simplify the model of fitness, working with that whole fitness technique and equipment side of things. And that's where I was one of the founders, and today I'm the CEO of Kinexit. And what we do is we're a platform for teaching and coaching professionals, where we provide this fitness tool for them to be able to help their players move better. So we have a simple process of screening, analyzing, helping players improve, and this is really powered by the professional. And really, the reason why we exist is really because of this. The thing is, we've met so many different teaching and coaching professionals, and everyone all pretty much agrees that fitness is really important when it comes to, the technical side, just overall golf and performance. But not everyone adds golf fitness into their offerings, into their packaging, into their overall teaching experience. And what we found is for really four different reasons. One of the reasons is we don't feel confident, or we feel a little bit unsure how to package golf fitness, or we don't have time, or historically it's taken a long time to screen a player, to get them set up, to work through the programs and so forth, and has led to being complicated. So for us, it's been turning these four core aspects around, making sure that professionals feel very confident. They know exactly how to package it. It's something that takes very little time and is incredibly easy from this perspective. And today, we have the opportunity to work with a lot of different professionals, being able to bring value to their businesses and their academies and clubs and so forth. So that's a little bit about us. And today, it's all about Henrik. It's all about, from a teaching perspective, how can we share wisdom, share experiences and know-hows. And this is something that we feel is so important and really, really interesting when it comes to golf, because professionals are really good within this sport, golf, compared to other sports, of sharing information, sharing what we know. And really, really excited to get to know Henrik a little bit better. And really, the topic today is around three areas. The first thing we're going to talk about is from your teaching perspective, when you teach the upcoming professionals, PGA professionals, how are they being shaped today? And what's the expertise that they're bringing out the gate? We look at the role of fitness. How does it, it's being more and more important when it comes to developing players, and how do PGA professionals add this with ease? And then third, we're also going to talk about how we can create healthy practice habits, routines, and so forth, you can say. So if we start with my first question, I think we're all curious. Having an identity as a professional is becoming very, very important. And one of those areas is just the matter of, a philosophy and so forth. So maybe you can just share a little bit about your philosophy as a coach and a teacher.
Well, I would say that the main part for everyone working with other people is that everyone should feel welcome, everyone should be treated equally, everyone should feel like I can come to my teacher and I can improve, and when I'm face to face with my teacher, he's all focused on me. That's the main part. Otherwise, if we're not connecting with the people or the person in front of us, we lose them. It doesn't really matter how good you are. But then I would say that the pyramid, and we're going to get to the pyramid in quite a while, we have it there, is the foundation.
All right, guys, we
That's
might
your
have.
athleticism.
Go ahead.
Yeah, your athleticism isn't good enough to support your fundamental basic movements of the golf swing. You're not going to support the club. And I feel like when it comes to hitting a golf ball, it's all about this. It's all about the club face. Controlling the club face is the main target. That's the only part of the equipment that does contact with the golf ball. And if you can structure your way around controlling the club face, or the clown nose, as we say in Scott Cox's world, it's going to be a lot easier. And I'm not really a big fan of swing your swing, because if we take that literally and we say that you could swing the golf club however you want to, it already means that everybody's doing the right thing and we can't help them. So if we structure it around what have we seen over the years on Hall of Fame golfers? I mean, all the Hall of Fame golfers, doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, they look pretty much the same coming into impact. And the club and the golf ball are connected like 4/10,000ths or so of a second. So it means that if we can mimic what the best players do at impact, I think we'd be a lot better off. And we had that discussion, you and me, Chris, a while ago about clothes. Like we always do the example of, I mean, if we're not buying the same size clothes, we're not supposed to swing the golf club the same way, which is partially true. But I would say that, like my shirt, for instance, it has some structural things that makes it a shirt. It has a front, it has a backside, it has two arms. Otherwise, it's not a shirt. And it might as well be a pair of pants instead. And if we put a pair of pants on down here and up here, we're going to look funny. And it's the same with the golf swing. We're going to swing funny if we do however we want to. And that's why I tend to like to put it into structure, like what could we do to structure our limbs, our athletic ability to support the club head or the club center of mass in the best way possible. That's my philosophy.
I mean, there's so much to that as well. And I think when we talk about philosophy and we talk about teaching and coaching and so forth, because you're there, I mean, you're not only helping your members and your players, you're also helping the new generation of teaching and coaching professionals. And we talk about the pyramid. So I can imagine there's a lot of us that have been teaching for many years, and there might have been, a couple of years ago, we actually did go to school and get our certification from the PGA. What would you say has happened over the last couple of years, and what's the expertise that and the tools in the so-called in the toolbox that these professionals are getting today from that perspective?
Well, I think I can only speak from as of when I started my education, which was back in 2011, but just considering my subject and the syllabus I've rewritten for that particular subject over the years has gone from a dead on TPI screening, core screening thing where I screened all of the students and they had their training program and whatever, into a little bit more of a physical assessment that a teacher can do right away, that can help them in their teaching right away, rather than doing a certification part of the teaching program. And that's, I would say, that's a common thread throughout the teaching program, is that we want to create a teaching professional that is broad, that has broad spectrum of knowledge, that knows quite a lot, not everything, but quite a lot on many subjects that could be necessary for a teaching professional to have in their toolbox at their home club. Because everyone listening in here knows that the situation for teaching pro is very, very different going from golf course to golf course, academy to academy. And we want to create a broad spectrum, but we also want to create an urge to specialize yourself in whatever area that might be, whether that be in custom fitting, whether that be in this type of golf fitness perspective, or whatever it might be, business, whatever. And that's more or less what we are, or what they are doing now. The group that are currently doing the biggest revision of the curriculum in I don't know how many years. They're rewriting the entire curriculum, and they are doing a great job with that, creating a better basic education for the teaching professional to then go ahead and specialize themselves out of. So that's what we do. But I mean, it says in the curriculum that you're supposed to be able to do a screen with your first group of players that you put together to follow during your time in the training program. So you actually need to have the basic knowledge of how to perform an easy screen right away, which means that we put quite a lot of emphasis on the fact that you need to integrate the physical abilities into your teaching. You need to add the athletic part of being able to understand, either do I need to work with it, or do I need to teach around it, depending on the client in front of you and the program you have designed, or the package. And also, I would say that we also need to be very, very careful when doing this within the training program, because identifying something, highlighting a lack of dorsiflexion in the ankle, for instance. I mean, that's one thing, but adjusting it or improving it is quite something else. So not putting the client in a situation where they should actually go and act as a chiropractor or something like that. I mean, then we encourage them to surround themselves with teams of people that they can actually, I mean, if I've had a lesson with someone and I've seen, okay, we have a problem. Every time this person hits a golf ball, their knee hurts. Okay, I have identified that we have a limitation in the knee, but I'm not qualified, even remotely qualified, to adjust that. So I need to have a phone number to someone that I can call and say, hey, I've had a lesson with, could we book a time for them to figure out what's wrong with the knee, so we can go from there in the golf teaching aspect.
So, I mean, there's a lot of great sense in that. And one of the things that we've noticed, and just going back to this pyramid, is when theory and practicality doesn't always go together. So, you look at the literature today, you look at science, and there's a lot of truth, and this, you should be doing this and that and so forth. But what we've noticed is that the pyramid, for instance, sounds great, but when we talk about the practicality, so when you're in full season, you are incredibly busy. You've got you're helping students and you're helping members all the time, every day. What would you say are the bottlenecks when it comes to the fitness side of things and doing the actual, if we start with the first layer, functional movement skills, goal fitness, what would you say are the bottlenecks there that you as a professional sort of experience, on a daily basis?
Well, I would say the major one is always time. Mm-hmm. Time. And that is by far, I mean, I've gone around doing, as we said before, my TPI certification. I've worked with my TPI Pro. I worked with quite a lot of other types of screening assessments leading up to a practice plan or whatever. But Kinexit has really solved the issue with time. And I can't put enough emphasis on that. That is by far the best ever quality tool that makes it ingrainable in I would say a 25-minute lesson, if we have to put it that way. Of course, if we can plan our way into integrating it into a longer lesson, so that, say for instance, we have a 50-minute lesson or a 75-minute lesson or something like that, that we can do the screen and actually talk about the screen all the way through. That's perfect. I mean, that's even better, both from a understanding point of view and from a learning point of view, as talking as we go along. But I mean, I can really, really fast put together a screen with 2 or 3 of the basic functions, and I can make that work in 3 or 4 minutes, and I know exactly where to go from there, which means I can do an assessment in the natural environment of a lesson. And I would say that that is one of my main tips for the people listening in, is going to be that screen even though you don't have time. Screen even though the client hasn't paid for it. But do it with your eyes through a lesson. Have a little notepad beside you. Write down what you see, what you notice, and what that does to the golf swing, which then makes you, it smartens your eye. Because I mean, then it's a lot easier for you to explain to the customer or to the student why we need to do a full-time screen, why we need to do something that takes a little bit more time and it takes a little bit more effort from their side. But that is your professional opinion. And if you identify those little nuggets over time, even though you're not screening the person in front of you, that's going to be a lot easier for you to sell that to the customer. Even if it's not a business-wise sell thing we're talking about selling it so that you can get a better athlete in front of you to work with building a golf swing.
So Henrik, what would you say? I mean, great points, and you're absolutely right. From a Kinexit perspective, we've built something where time, efficiency, and simplicity have been very big driving factors. You could create the best app program in the world, the best training process, but if it doesn't get done, or if you have to rush through it, we just noticed that it doesn't get as much attention. So from a screening perspective, from your professional, work day-to-day basis, like what would you say are important factors when it comes to the screening side of things? Like, what do you look for if you want to sort of incorporate the fitness side of things from a Kinexit screening as well? Feel free to do so. But so what are the things that you look for when it comes to the screening?
Well, as you show on the image up there on the screen, it's basically first and foremost foot ankle mobility, being able to stay in posture and being able to use the ground properly. If we lack there, if there's a leakage in energy transfer down at feet level, it's not going to be easier coming up. And if the feet and the ankles are okay, I work towards hips, making sure that they can use their hips properly. I mean, in all honesty, I haven't met a single person who have enough internal rotation capacity over the years. That can always be improved, and that can always be worked around. And if the hips are supporting the energy coming up through the feet, through the legs, I'm looking at T-spine mobility. I'm looking at the thoracic spine. I'm looking at how we can flex and extend our T-spine while we are side bending, and that is by far, I mean, of course, if we're working with a super professional that plays on the PGA Tour, or we have an aspiring college player that wants to do this for a living, we need to broaden the spectrum at the screening level. I mean, but then I have, as I said before, I have just a phone call away, I have someone that takes care of the 2-hour screening with a goniometer that measures every single joint, every single limb, and makes sure that the entire screen fits the purpose. But if we're working with club golfers, and if we're working with juniors at our club, creating a program that's something that we wants to stand for as PGA professionals, foot mobility, hip mobility, and T-spine mobility are the ones that makes our life so much easier.
One thing that you've talked about and I love is that concept of, you know, leakages in the different planes. Maybe you
Yeah.
can just walk us through that as well with pretty much
Yeah,
all
well,
you know about it. But, you know, the whole concept of rotation, side bending, the different planes. Maybe you can just run through that briefly.
exactly. So the golf swing is made up of three things. It's made up of rotation, it's flexion and extension, and it's side bending. That happens simultaneously. So if I just go ahead and I set up to the golf ball like this, and I just rotate, I'm gonna look like this. I can't hit it very far from here. So I need to extend up here to create some leverage. Although now I have a problem, I don't see my golf ball. I can't see my golf ball. So I have to side bend here to actually make this work on an inclined plane. And this is by far I would say the most misunderstood part of the golf swing is the side bend part, which people often forget that they need to side bend, and they need to side bend in the opposite direction of the turn. So if I turn in my backswing to my trail side, I turn to the right, I need to side bend to the left. And if my feet and my ankle mobility does not support that, if I go this way, and if I go here, and now my ankles, I lack dorsiflexion in my ankles, I can't stay in this type of position with my lead side. I come up, and all of a sudden, I've lost all side bend. Just apart from the feet not working properly. But there could also be a misunderstanding, which means that when we do the screen, and when you do a screen with a player in front of you, and you explain the fact that, okay, this motion is really important for you to be able to control the club. Most of them are unaware of the fact that they actually side bend. So that could actually be a very nice feature of the screen, and a good reason why to allocate more time to the screen is to do the explanation of which movements are you supposed to do in a golf swing. And if you can't do them, if you have physical limitations, we set you up with a practice plan or physical plan that you can work through, or I can, as a teacher, find a way to teach around it, but I need to know it first.
And, you know, you said a lot of great things. And I think from the perspective from what we do is noticing that, I mean, you make it sound so easy, and it is for a lot of professionals. And some are like, oh, I understand what you're saying, but how do I implement a screening that could work to my benefit, that's time efficient, that works well, and so forth? And for us, it's really honing in on that and creating that platform that's simple and easy, and that we have the ability to integrate on a daily basis in packages and so forth. And that's where we come in, and a little bit short around that for those that are interested, where we really want to solve the problem, solve the headache. Is our in-lesson screening, what it does is it identifies potential limitations in range of motion, mobility, and stability. It's really smooth and efficient in the fact that we have a way where we give automated feedback, and we can create a really clear plan for the golfer from there. So there's no need to have to spend late hours and you know, spend additional hours like a lot of other professionals, except for instance, Henrik has spent is very passionate and wants to help his golfers. He spent a lot of time and effort, and I think maybe we've been able to save quite a lot of time for you over the last couple of months from that end. But from a screening perspective, we have an in-lesson screening that has 7 tests. And what we do is we identify potential limitations in the feet. So the player gets exposed to the ability to try to find these limitations. We've got that flexion with internal and external rotation component. We have extension that was incredibly important, also with an internal and external component, even so the side bending. So just based on what Henrik mentioned, we have a lot of aspects there where we cover in a very short period of time. So there's really a great sense of figuring out what needs to be worked on. And even so, I don't have to have all the answers. The platform will help me and guide me through that. So a little bit about that then. Again, we've got ankle mobility. What we all do is we want to measure the distance between the wall and our big toe. And we're using a measuring tape to figure out what that distance is. We're going to put that distance into Kinexit. We're going to do this on our right and left foot. And we're going to do that on all tests. We're going to do this on the ankle mobility. We're going to do this with flexion, with internal rotation. We're going to do this with the same thing, but with an externally rotated position. We're going to do this with an extension, also same concept with internal and external rotation as well. So we're getting all those components. And also we're going to be doing side bending so we can get the left and the right side as well. So in less than about 10 to 12 minutes, you should be able to complete your screening and get some good information. The player gets a good experience, and we're covering a lot of information from that side of things. Henrik, I mean, anything that I've missed there from just a screening perspective that you want to maybe cover?
No, I would say that to make it easier, and I can actually show you by just turning my camera a little here in my studio. As you see here, I have set up a measuring station. I always have this in my studio, which makes it easier. I don't have to run about searching for a measuring tape. I don't have to do anything special. I can just have the player stand over here and do the screens, and I don't have to have them do all of them. If I can, I mean, I've worked with this for about 10 years now. I can safely say that I can do a couple of those screens with my eyes only. I don't have to make the student do them unless they have paid for a package that includes a full screening. But I can just stand here and show them that if you have to be this close to the wall, doing a side bend to reach the wall, and I would love for you to be able to stand out here and do it without over rotating or losing balance. That's just, I mean, that's a simple way of getting them to understand, okay, what will be a good benchmark? And okay, I can actually go home and I can try this out. And if I feel like, okay, this is maybe something that I need to work on, then I can go do that.
And I think a lot of the benefits in like just breaking that down is when you have that potential from a business perspective now, that potential little upsell where they might try it. Maybe in Kinexit, we can give a trial to the player. The key thing here is that the test is one thing, and I would agree 100% with you there, Henrik, but I'll also add that the test is great, but it's the routines, the healthy routines and the healthy sort of creative ways of creating healthy habits like today's pieces. And one of the key things what we've done is not only create a screen, but also take it a step further, give feedback, where we create a lot of, or get a lot of inspiration from launch monitors. And especially here in Sweden, at least, indoor golf and golf simulators have just exploded. And a lot of people are very interested about their data, how far they're hitting the ball, their club head speed, and so forth. And even so, taking it even a step further and giving them prescribed exercises that they can work on. Simple drills, simple exercises they can do anywhere, anytime. And two concepts that we cover here is one is the concept of no sweat training. So working with a demographic that might not always like to go to the gym or like to spend 60 minutes, likes to really get fully tired and so forth. So the concept of no sweat training and 15 minutes 3 times per week is there. Even so, being able to do it from the comfort of your home with just, with the pandemic being a part of life right now until we get to maybe a normal state, it's really an option to be able to give our players the tools to be able to improve. So if we wrap up, I think we've covered a lot of great things here with screenings, with different types of ways to help our players and identifying limitations. And I would say something that I'm going to take with me is the concept of having confidence to do something when it comes to the screening side of things. If it's with a Kinexit platform, is it with figuring out on your own, but including fitness in different areas where the body is one of our biggest tools, or our most important part of the golf bag. And being able to, as a teaching professional, identify different things and make it, make it there. If we move on now, Henrik, and we talk a little bit about the second aspect, fitness we've talked about. It is clear that it's incredibly important. But what we've noticed is that one way I think you've touched on it, the concept of packaging, and not everyone is completely confident with like, hey, I'm going to start them off with a screen or do something. What would you say would be like a learning from your end when it comes to just the whole side of packaging and adding golf fitness into, your current setup?
Well, I would say that's one of our main objectives as teachers, as golf professionals, is to explain to the player or the student in front of you that your body is the only part of your equipment you're going to be using on every single shot. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing. And I mean, as we touch on here, that before, I mean, up to people argue, or Gary Player argues that he was first, but I think you can draw a line where Annika Sorenstam and Tiger Woods made the world know commercially as well that you need to take care of your body. You do create an edge over others if you are athletic. And that's, I mean, taking that onto a club level, creating basic motor patterns, basic motor skills that runs through your academy I mean, we have talked about this, you and me, over the past months, but the fact that you integrate it into your warm-up routine is great. Because I mean, if you can move, if you can create a basic motor patterns for your players that they feel is a natural part of starting their every training session, their every golf session with, then I think you've come a long way. I think you're really, really onto something there. And I mean, you as well have to make a choice as a professional. You have to make a choice what you stand for. If you believe that this is an important piece, you need to stand up for it. You need to talk about it. You need to act in a way that the people around you see that it is an important part. And you need to create examples. You need to create, I mean, you stick a dozen Pro V1s to your elite juniors and make them do their warm up in the middle of the range every day during summer for the other members to see that, they are doing it. They are like your, I don't know how to say that, but they're exactly, they act like ambassadors for your academy. And that is by far the best thing ever. And that is, for me, when I see that, when I walk out of the studio here and I see the club members, elite juniors, young kids, and I don't know who warm up the same way, that really makes it, for me, that's my receipt of, okay, I've actually made an impact here. I've actually integrated this in a way that it's natural for members in different categories to actually do the same thing. And we're often only looking at elite players. And to be honest, we're not working with elite players. I mean, there are so few of us teachers that only work with elite players that is I mean, it's obscure to think that should be the way we treat everyone. I mean, the majority of our lessons and the majority of the time we spend teaching is with people who just want to get a little bit better. And if we can educate them and the fact that this is important, I think that's the way to go. I'm totally convinced that that's the way to go.
And I agree 100%. And what we've noticed is that the foundation, if you're a professional that's really curious of adding the fitness component, we talk about the concept of total game fitting, equipment, technique, fitness, and making it a natural part of your golf lesson experience. I would say the packaging is incredibly important. And I think a lot of professionals can they can sort of see themselves in here. And we see this all the time where, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's more that from someone who's maybe an inexperienced lesson taker, they go onto a website, they look on something like this, and you've got 25-minute sessions, 50-minute sessions, you've got 40, you bundle them in some way. It's not always easy for an inexperienced person to know what goes behind the scenes. And what is so cool about professionals is that the standard is so high. You can, if you compare it with other businesses and other types of sports and from a personal training perspective, there's so many great teaching and coaching professionals that have they take a lot of pride in what they do. But there's so many components. There's bunker shots, there's shot shaping, there's irons, there's putting, there's short game, all these things. And sometimes as an inexperienced person, it's not easy to know what goes on. And I think from a fitness component, extending the view, helping the player to get a little bit of a better understanding what goes behind the scenes. We don't have to do it exactly like this, but understanding that maybe the first lesson takes a little bit longer. That we want to know a little bit more about you as a player. We want to check your swing. We want to check your specs. We want to check your body, because all these things are interconnected. You're going to get a personal golf fitness program so you can work on during the package time. We're going to work on drills, the upcoming lessons, and you're going to get 2 months of this program. It could be Kinexit, it could be something else. So being able to present it in such a way like this really, I think, has helped a lot of professionals academies that we've been working with over the last years. And for those that are wanting to go a little bit deeper, I mean, it doesn't have to be incredibly complicated. Just looking at it like this, if we have a 4-lesson package and we start with the initial assessments, we do what we do from a swing perspective, equipment checkup, but on the body fitting, 10-15 minutes is all you need to do the assessment, give them some feedback, and away they go with their programs. You don't have to spend a lot of time. We'll do all the homework for them, and then your responsibility is the drills and so forth in the upcoming lessons. And then how much time you add into this. Now, we are 100% behind the professional. So however you package this is completely up to you. But at the end of the day, how much you want to do it, and you're fully dynamic to add as much time as you want to the players' memberships and so forth. So I would say that is an important aspect around fitness, is packaging it in a really good and a way that makes sense for the player. And then again, I don't even think you're going to need a lot of buy-in, because going back to the circle, pretty much all players will understand that if I can move a little bit better, I will be able to play a little bit better as well. Now, Henrik, getting into the end here, and we talk about healthy practice habits, and you've created a pretty unique atmosphere at your club and how you do things and so forth. So maybe you can just give a little bit of insight of what you do. First of all, what are these habits, and how do you implement them?
Well, I would say that you work towards an ingrained culture. I mean, that's what we in Sweden call it's ingrained in the walls. You know, when you step into a locker room at a big club in whichever sport, you know what's their culture. And I think you need to look at your way of teaching golf and building your academy that way. I think you need to make a choice on what to ingrain in your culture. And for me, basic motor skills are by far the thing that I've had most success with over the years. Educating the player on how to move without golf club and a golf ball. It's not getting any easier. You all know that listening in here now. All know that it's not getting easier for them when they get a club in their hand and they're supposed to hit a golf ball and they're supposed to do that at speed. So if we can make, I've taken what we have in Sweden as our basic junior program, which is partly based on a little bit of TPI junior stuff and partly based on just fundamental movement skills. FMS, it's a worldwide thing where you actually educate young people on how to move, because we need to do that nowadays. They are not moving the same way that that we did when we were young. They are sitting more still. We need to take responsibility on how to educate them to move properly, or to move at all when it comes to young kids. And if we take that exact same exercises and we put them into our members program, they also need to, but they need to relearn how to move, because they've been sitting still at work for quite some years, stiffening up in every single plane of movement. So what we need to do is we need to relearn them how to move, re-educate them. And basic stuff like standing with your hands like this and just rotate. Just rotate. And you're gonna see people doing all kinds of funny stuff. And then when you ask them to do this on an inclined plane, you're gonna see even more crazy stuff going on. So if you can make them do what I call my basic motor drills, if I can get them to do that at home, and I can get them to integrate that into their warm-up routine, which I talked about earlier, seeing juniors and members doing the same thing, that is a healthy practice habit for me. And that's the foundation. And that makes me also certain that if they can show me that they can move, in my opinion, properly, I know they're ready to move upwards in the pyramid. I know they're ready to move from just basic motor skills to golf fitness, and then to hitting golf shots. The hitting golf shots is level 3. It is not level 1. And that is where you need to be a professional and explain that to the student in front of you.
And guys, I would just say that Henrik, you make it sound easy and you don't get enough credit, but you've created an atmosphere at your club that is very, very unique and very cool. And to see so many players doing the same thing on a driving range is just, it's amazing. So I want to say really well done from your end and able to integrate that. And so from this perspective now, we're getting to the end, and we're getting to that point where, we always remember the first thing and the last things, and et cetera. And if you were sort of to summarize what we've talked about, if you want to give 3 strong topics that you feel are important to bring with you, and I asked you this before the presentation as well, so I actually got these covered. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about this and what you feel is important at the end of this presentation now.
Absolutely. And as I've said before, and I can't really put enough emphasis on the fact that you need to be the professional. They come to you for help. And it's the same. I had a doctor here yesterday on a lesson, and we talked about the fact that since information is so easy to get access to these days, he stands at work and the patients coming to him, they have already Googled what's wrong with them. So he needs to be very, very careful in explaining why he might be better to listen to than Google. And it's the same for us. I mean, you can get swing tips, you can get everything on YouTube with just your phone and your thumb, and it's all there. So you need to make an active choice. You need to make your academy stand for something. Whether that be, I don't know, we have 0 slicers in our academy or whatever it might be. I mean, that's your choice, but make a choice. Make a choice so you then can educate yourself. And that's also the thing I put so much emphasis on when I talk to the students within the training program is you need to be able to show. You need to be able to show a screen. You need to be physically fit enough to show what you want the person standing in front of you to do. Because if you're not able to do it, and you solve hitting a golf ball anyway, your entire presentation or your entire academy falls flat, because then you do not stand for what you teach. So don't talk the talk if you're not walking the walk yourself. That's number 2. And start by doing a little, because a little is so much better than nothing. Both from your end as a teaching professional, I mean, start by, even if you're not really comfortable in this screening world or adding golf fitness to your academy or to your club, start by doing it yourself within lessons, as I said before, with a little notepad beside you. Start screening with your eyes. Start looking at what might be the root cause of the problem. And for a student, if you can get them to do a little, I mean, if I get them to do my basic motor drills, if I get them to do this, if I get them to do pelvic tilts, or I get them to do rotational drills at home, that's so much better than if they're not doing it. Same thing, if I can get them to do that and they get a little taste of it and they see that they improve, then they will come and ask for, okay, I did this and this made it so much easier to swing the golf club. What else can we do? Can we do more on this side of the game? Can we do more with my athleticism to make it support my golf club even better? To start with, I mean, I have like this brushing your teeth analogy which is, I mean, if you can get someone to do a drill while they're brushing their teeth, because brushing our teeth is natural. I mean, we do that every morning and every evening. That's natural. No one questions that. So if we can do something simultaneously, which is going to be hard for the men in the audience, but simultaneously, it's going to be time well used from 2 ends. And that's, I mean, if we can do that, it's going to be a snowball effect. The snowball is going to start rolling, and it's going to get even bigger and bigger, and they're going to bring you more into your academy that you can work with. And they're going to be better equipped for you to do technical changes with.
Love it. Now, I want to say thank you so much. You've shared so much great insight, so much great knowledge, and just for you to take all this time to spend with us I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you so much, Henrik, and appreciate everything that you've done today. And again, a big congratulations for what you've done and what you've accomplished and what you've done at the club. So very well done.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for making my life so much easier with the tools that you provide with Kinexit. That's awesome.
Thank you. So everyone, thanks so much for joining us now. And well, we talk about a lot when it comes to teaching and platforms, etc. Again, we are a platform for teaching and coaching professionals. And if you're interested to learn more, we do a lot when it comes to that basic fundamental of screenings, giving feedback, and providing tools for your players. So they can choose between 5 different themes when it comes to warm up, mobility, stability. They can choose between 15, 30, 45, and 60 minutes. Everything's animated, very easy to follow. And we've got a little over 1,000 exercises. So what we've done is create a filtering system where players will have access to their stuff based on their screening and so forth. And the cool thing is we even have the ability to add your own content, drills, and so forth to Kinexit as well. Now, if you're interested, we are all about creating relationships with our professionals. So we always start with our certification that we do. And within the certification, we talk a lot about fundamental biomechanics. We take about 2 to 3 hours, either online or on site. And we do a deep dive into our in-lesson screening, making sure that you feel very comfortable and know exactly what to do, how to do it, how to perform it, and so that you feel safe and you feel just really confident at being able to add it. We go through a lot of education when it comes to giving feedback and how do we launch it. So we don't only have a platform, but we have something that we can add in and we can do it with ease from that perspective. We know that communication is really important. So being able to, find ways to help out getting started with packaging, different types of templates, even ways to communicate to players with webinars and warm-up signs where Henrik, you've been using our warm-up sign now for a while, where just having a QR code where players that maybe aren't connected to the professional or the local pro or whoever can go up and grab that QR code, get some basic warm-up movements, and from there they can get promoted to say, hey, you know what, do you want more out of your training or game? Go ahead and contact your local pro to personalize your training or get fitted or whatever you want to send for messaging and so forth. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to learn more. Now, if you have some questions or some feedback and so forth, then feel free to use the chat, etc. We're going to be sending out emails and so forth to everyone as well. So feel free to ask your questions. If you have some feedback as well, what you thought of today, that would be great. If not, we've got to the end here. Everyone's got busy schedules. So I hope you have a great Thursday. I hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you on the other side if this is something that could fit into what you're doing. I want to wish you all a great day. For those that are heading to the season now, best of luck. We've got a lot of eager golfers out there. Let's make sure that we can help them, treat them, and get them all playing better in that sense. So Henrik, once again, thank you so much for joining us and appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Chris, and good luck to everyone in the season. Have a great one.
All right, everyone, take care and we'll see you soon.